Welcome back, everyone. Just clearing up some information, and I've had a lot of questions on this, so it made sense to just make a video and cover it. And we're talking about reforges and whether family bonuses stack. We're going to talk about curse gear, and we're going to talk about invocations and whether all these stack with the 2 new additional weapon slots. Short answer to this question is yes, but the manners in which they do varies depending on the situation. So let's go ahead and take a look at the reforges first. And you'll see if I just go in here, personally I have at least 3 lines of jolt on every single piece. So I do in fact have 8 piece or all of the gear with an 8 pieces for the same family. Now, there was some, I believe, a typo in the original charts if you've seen the chart for the 6 piece, and that led to some additional confusion. So the way it works for having a 7th line is a 12-second cooldown, and for the 8th line is a 10-second cooldown. So just keep that in mind if you're looking, and I still think personally, if you are using a family bonus, it still for the most part makes sense to use it on all the pieces. I'm experimenting with Jolt again, mainly for PvP, but I'm using it primarily to proc chip as well as the increased beneficial duration. If anybody's curious, just figured I'd add that in because people are always asking about different builds. Now let's get into the curse gear as well. Yes, you can have 8 pieces of curse gear equipped, okay? You can put them in the new slots. However, if you look at the curse gear and the positive effects that they offer, there's no new line, so you wouldn't get one for 7 because that was an odd number anyways, right? And you don't have one for 8, okay? Nothing's been added here. So there's no advantage to having 8 of the same piece. If you only want to run 6 piece and you don't want, say, the negative effects that you would get by activating something else, we'll pick the 6 items with the most favorable negative aspects and have those with the property that you want, and then re-roll the other 2 to something completely different that doesn't match so that you aren't affected by those negative properties. Or you can do something similar to what I've done, and that's mix and match. So I've got a 2-piece bonus here, a 2-piece bonus here, a different 2-piece bonus here, and another 2-piece bonus here. Now I'm experimenting with 4 2-pieces. I liked triple 2-piece prior, so I figured I'd try quadruple 2-piece and just kind of give some feedback. I haven't done a full amount of testing on this to kind of offer too much, but in general, I like its potential so far. So keep that in mind, and I do want to talk about the negative properties as well. This is often overlooked and just left out or neglected when people talk about curse gear, so let's just go ahead and go through this real quick. I've got 8 pieces that have some decent choices for my character and my build, at least in regard to PvP, which is how I build my characters, because it seems to kind of be that PvE is fairly easy for the most part, and I like to gear and cater myself towards PvP. So damage dealt to full life enemies reduced by 5%. Now, the enemies really only have full life once, right? Unless perhaps they resurrected full health. But in general, this doesn't hurt me too much just on the initial hit, or if they're already damaged, it doesn't affect me at all. I do use primary attack in my build. However, I rely more on the dots that it provides as opposed to the sheer direct damage. So I really like having this one here. I don't use a dash. Damage dealt to shielded enemies. Now I have this twice, and I'm hard countered by monks with the build that I'm using, so I really don't care. All right, I'm most likely not going to beat a monk of equal strength anyways, so this doesn't affect me too much in terms of how the match plays out. I still go about it the same way, and even if I didn't have that, I would still lose to the monk most likely. Damage dealt by my summons reduced. I'm not using a summon in this build. Healing potion cooldown increased by 4%. Now this does affect bandage. I find that the 4% is pretty negligible. And damage dealt is reduced by 4% for 1 second after defeating an enemy. Well, sometimes when I defeat an enemy, I stop taking damage because I've got the borrowed time proc. So overall, I don't mind this too much. And 1 second is a really brief duration for the most part, especially after I kill something, right? There might be nobody there. I might be repositioning, trying to get out myself. So again, kind of a little detour or tangent there, but I just want to cover these and go through the thought process because it's really often neglected by a lot of people. So let's talk about invocations as well. Now, I don't have any invocations on in this particular loadout because I set it up to demonstrate the curse gear, and rather than wasting time, let's just talk about it. So there was no limit on invocation gear before, right? They all had their own separate chance to proc things, and you could stack multiple pieces of the same one. For example, you could stack chance of being attacked, or you could stack when using a dash skill. Whatever it may be, you could just use more and more pieces, and well, the same thing is still true. You can just equip 2 more pieces with that. We have seen a rise in invocation gear. I don't have any information to share about that. In fact, invocation gear was claimed to be getting phased out and that curse gear would replace it. So I don't know if this is a mistake or a bug. Maybe something got just kind of missed in the update and we're seeing more and more of it. I am not aware of them having any plans to bring it back, which is really what's occurred, right? And we know that a lot of people now are going to be looking for this invocation gear, and if you're doing anything like hoarding onto mystery legendary items, you can open these within the castle depths or the purge and guarantee that you get an invocation type piece. So there's a lot of people taking advantage of things like this. So just kind of waiting for some more info on that if we get any. Otherwise, we're probably going to see the return of stun invocations, which is a really big negative in my opinion. Anyways, hope that clears up anything and answers all the questions that you have as more people reach 800, or maybe you're 800 already and kind of trying to figure out what you can or can't do with your character. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.